I have the best floor for a basement or really any room in your house. Bathroom, kitchen, living room. I'm gonna show you how to install it next on homeprohero. So I've laid a lot of flooring. Wood floor, engineered floor, vinyl floor, and vinyl flooring is probably one of my favorites for the fact it's so easy. Why do I like vinyl flooring? One, it's relatively inexpensive and it looks great. Two is, it's great for wet areas or possibly wet areas such as basements, bathrooms, and kitchens. Three is, it's super durable. It'll last forever and likely outlast any wood floor you possibly could have. Now we're installing about 75 square feet in my home office. Unfortunately, there's only 80 square feet of it. So I only got 5 square feet for mistakes. It's gonna be tight. I hope I have enough. Now in my room, I have a lot of different challenges that you may not have in your room, but I am on a concrete floor in my basement. I do have a significant crack going through a certain part of the floor. Not a big deal. As long as the crack isn't uneven from each other, there's no concern there. Now some additional challenges I have in this room is I'm matching my current flooring in the hallway. So that dictates how I'm gonna lay this in the home office to make it look nice. I've got a couple corners I have to deal with, which isn't a big deal. And I have a concrete outside wall that might have a little bit of a bow in it, but I don't think it's gonna be anything major. Let's go ahead and get this threshold off, which I don't think it's on that well, and then we'll see what we look like underneath here. Now, I use liquid nails, obviously, which isn't a big deal. I'll have to make sure I get that cleaned up. Okay, so I ran this line right here. Just want to see where we came out, see if I need to make some rip cuts down the side, which doesn't look like I'm going to have to, but I do still need a guideline. So what I'm going to do is I want to run off this other line from the existing floor. Now, you may not have to do this in yours if you're not trying to match an existing floor, which is probably likely the case, but I have to go the extra step to make it look good. You don't want to have slivers on your last piece, so you want to measure out. My panels are 7 inches wide. So if I go like this, lay it down where it's supposed to be approximately, I have 4.5 inches, which is plenty. If I measure to the wall, to that line, it's 87.5. 87.5 divided by 7, that gives me 12.5 boards. A half board's 3.5 inches, should be good to go. A couple other tips you want to keep in mind when you're laying this type of flooring is you don't want super short planks at the beginning or the end of rows. Like we talked about, you don't want narrow runs at the end of your install, less than 2 inches. Okay, super neat how these go together. All you do is take the female into the male, boom. Set it in, boom. And you can see it sits nice and flush. Here's the back side. Nice soft pad, vapor barrier, everything good to go. Here's the seam, nice and tight. Not waterproof, but water resistant, meaning if it gets wet, it's not gonna hurt it. Is it gonna hold a swimming pool? No, it's not going to, it's gonna leak. It's gonna leak through the cracks. So how do the ends go together? It's real simple. There's the flap and then there's the underneath part. They just click in. It's hard to demonstrate here, but once you get them lined up, you take a mallet, you pound it down, and it snaps in. The beauty of it is when you overlap the next piece, you definitely don't want your seams in the same area. This is why. You want at least 6 inches on both sides. When you put that next full piece in there, it locks that in, and you're already locked in on this side, so that thing can't come out. It's a good system. So this covers the gap from one floor to another, about the same color. They sell these universally, and just heads up, these things are expensive. It uses this channel right here you install. I'll have to get some screws at the hardware. It goes in like that, and then there's a natural channel right there that actually plugs into that. Just gotta get some concrete screws and just tack that in. You don't have to have a crazy amount of tools to lay down this type of floor. You basically need a tape measure, a marker, a mini square, a jigsaw, and a circular saw. That will get the job done. But if you had a miter saw and a table saw, it'd be a little bit easier. So I've already ripped this piece down. We'll install it first, along with this piece right here. It won't sit down if it's not in right. Okay, there it goes. Nothing's inside this channel here, very important. If there is something in that channel, you're not gonna be able to set this panel down right. So you kicking in, and they'll just drop down naturally. If it's not in all the way, it'll stay up like this a little bit. Make sure it's pushed in good, and then drop it, and it should drop flat. That's it. So this is actually getting a 3/4 inch piece of wood right here on top, maybe shoe 2. So I got plenty of clearance. I've actually got clearance underneath the trim board. Let's see how it looks from back here. Looks straight coming off of the other room. So the first 3 pieces, check, 4 pieces are in. Now this little narrow piece right here, you can see I got a gap against the wall, and it actually can move this way underneath the trim board. Same thing on that side. All that stuff can move up to a 1/4 inch. So I pulled out the laser and I shot a laser on this line right here, perfectly on that line. And as it traveled, I had to turn the lights off to see it. And actually you can see it right here. That's where I need to be. I'm glad I caught it at this stage. It's a lot easier to fix this now than it would have been, you know, 3/4 of the way through. But it's really important to make sure you take a measurement off one of the boards to the outside wall. Now this outside wall might not be, you know, all that plumb because it's not framing, it's a concrete wall. And when I measured the tape measure from that wall to the laser line, and then that wall to the laser line, I was off about 1/8 to 1/16 of an inch from one side to the other side of the room, which is perfectly acceptable. I mean, a 1/4 inch would have been fine, or even a 1/2 inch. But that laser line is on the money. So just gotta go up there, take 2 extra cuts, take it apart a little bit, but it won't take long. $80 3/4. $80 3/4. So it's laid down perfect. We're ready to roll. Now it gets easy till we get to the corner. Okay, so the only thing you need to remember when you're laying this, I got my first row down. I've got my seam way back here. The one thing you want to remember is you don't want all your seams in the same spot. You want to kind of stagger them. About every 3rd or 4th row, you can start repeating the previous pattern if you want. It's easier to remember. But you can see right here, I started a short piece here, and then I ran a long piece, and I just cut that piece. Now I'll eventually use the cut piece back here, but it's almost the same size as this, so I'll probably use that later down the run. This floor is basically a 5.5 millimeter flooring, which is thicker than most. I've seen them as low as 2 millimeter. The thicker, the better. Why does the thickness of the panel matter? 1, durability. But 2 is, the thinner the panel, the less structure you have for the tongue and groove system to lock in and keep a nice tight floor for a long, long time. Okay, I came to my first possible issue here. Not necessarily an issue, but I guess you would call it a challenge. But I've got this little section here. This full piece isn't gonna fit there. I need to cut it. I like to mark the board where I'm gonna cut it. That way I know to erase the mark by cutting the mark. But essentially I'm off a little bit, 6 inches there and about 5 3/4 there. If you want to learn how to do more projects like this to improve the value of your house and all the other different types of home improvement stuff I do, start now by subscribing and liking this video. Okay, I got it in. I had to wrestle it, so I'm not gonna try and wrestle again for the camera's sake. Boogered up this a little bit, but not a problem. I'll have to paint that. I'll stay 1/4 of an inch off this side, 1/4 inch off that side, and I'll stay 1/4 inch off the back wall. I'm gonna put these vinyl planks on top of what I've already completed to hold it down so it doesn't move on me, but I wanna double check and make sure my measurement from the outside wall to the lip of the wood floor is in the same ballpark, within 1/4 of an inch or so. So I'm at 52.5 there. 52.5 there, I'm good. So now I'm gonna move all the wood onto the completed floor and we'll move on from there. So because this floor has a pad attached to the bottom of it, there's no additional padding or vapor barrier needed. Okay, in the process of staggering all my seams, got a piece here. Got to make sure I have the flat end here and a flat end here so I can connect. All you do is simply put it in the groove, kind of like I showed earlier. Put it in the groove, make sure all points are touching and you can't see the gray. You do, I slide it into place as it's upright and I drop it. If it drops flat, I know I'm tight in the seam there. If it doesn't drop flat and there's some resistance and it maybe stays up like this, that means you're not tight enough inside that groove. You simply just wiggle it and it'll drop in. When it drops flat, you know you're good. So the longer pieces are harder, they're 5 feet. Same principle. I keep it up on the edge like this, like almost like a V. Make sure I'm in, you can know you're in because you can kind of see it. I slide it down to where it needs to go, and then I drop it. See how it dropped real nice? It's flat down here for the most part. It still needs to be pounded in here. So you don't want to go nuts on this, but you just want to give it a little bit of hit. And that's it. Like I say, when I cut pieces, it's real simple. So it's supposed to go in like this, right? But I have to cut this end off, right? So it's too hard to measure back and get that. So all I do is flip it around. I line it up down here to make sure it's 1/4 of an inch off the wall, which it is. And then all I do is mark it wherever I want to cut it. So when I put the black mark there, I want my saw to erase the black mark. That way the black mark doesn't show on the product. It's kind of a good reminder which side to cut. Now I'll use this portion down there. This portion will stay here. I'll just flip it around. Let's go up and cut it real quick. Okay, cutting this stuff is super easy. Here's my mark. Cuts like butter. Line the saw. Holy cow, this is really close. I never thought it'd be this close. I thought I had plenty. 5 extra square feet. Here's my scraps. I got 2 full lengths left to go against the wall. I can't screw these up. Keep our fingers crossed. This floor is discontinued. I can't get any more. Wow, super close. That's all I had left. Way too short. If you're doing your project, always plan on 10% for cuttage and waste. Kind of a standard in the industry. Got 2 things left to do. Let's knock out the threshold and let's knock out the shoe molding and we'll be done. Shoe molding, super easy. The only key is you don't attach it to the floor whatsoever. You want to make sure that you nail into the shoe molding, into the trim work, and make sure you don't hit the floor. It is a floating floor, which basically means it's not attached to anything but itself. That was fun. Next video, we're burning wood, and I have another secret door. See you next time.